Hello everyone and welcome to another Lorcana video today. Today we're going to be checking out some of the current top set 4 deck lists from a recent tournament that was posted on the Mushu Report, which is basically where I get a ton of the deck lists and these tournament results from. Make sure to check them out, give them a follow on Twitter. Their website is mushureport.com, so make sure to keep an eye on that site as you can get a lot of great information from there. So let's kick it off with the first place list. We might be seeing a theme as we take a look at this one, and it is Ruby Sapphire, a pretty common archetype or pairing that we've seen not only this set but last set. But this set, it does have some key improvements. Not only the ice block in there, but also the brawls, which are incredibly strong at some, really giving this archetype the early game removal. But then also those Sisus, which is, I think the combination of like brawl and Sisus are probably how this deck was able to beat the Emerald Steel lists that were going on, or at least it really contributed to those Emerald Steel lists. And funnily enough, you can see actually 2 Sisu of the 3-drop and 3 of the large sort of AoE kind of board clearing Sisu, or at least it clears most boards against Emerald Steel. This mainly is there because, of course, you have access to ramp in this list. So having to like shift them out early and needing that smaller Sisu to shift them on top of is not necessarily really needed when you're playing it with Sapphire. So yeah, really solid list overall. I don't think this archetype's going anywhere, at least for this set, so I expect we'll be seeing this in top cuts as time goes on. But I'm not really a specialist on this archetype, so I'll be very interested to know what your guys' thoughts are on the actual breakdown of how many of what card, because I think that is what's really going to start splitting lists, and kind of has been the case for a while. Next up, let's check out second place, as I mentioned. That is going to be the Emerald Steel deck, of course. As we can see, an extremely popular archetype here. You have all the early game we come to expect, with basically going for the full suite of Floodborn characters. There's the Aladdin, there's the sort of big Shift Flynn Rider in there as well, for not only a Floodborn character, but also potentially some huge questing opportunity. And like, basically, if Flynn gets to quest for 3 or 4 even once, you are looking great in any given game, and that's even if your opponent can deal with him after that. On top of that, because card draw can be, a bit of a question, there's 4 Let the Storm Rage On, the 4 Jafars, of course there's the Prince John in there as well, with the 3 Beasts to follow up, so not too bad at all. And that 1 Find and Flatten 'em as well, which is, I think, a card that we're going to see often, and is one of the ways this deck can actually get even more ahead against the Sapphire lists, especially being able to just banish all those items whilst being able to sing, so you can actually keep tempo whilst doing so. So yeah, really solid list. Honestly, before I even opened this page, I expected to see these two, maybe not exact lists, but these 2 archetypes in the very, very, very top. Like, one of them was going to win, at least that's how I feel right now. Moving on to another Ruby Sapphire list. I think this one is slightly different, yeah, because there's none of the smaller Sisus, but there is the 4 large Sisus and then 4 Lucky Dimes. Like, this is a very clean list, 4 of everything. And I guess this then leans into doing maybe a little bit better again with the mirror matches because of the extra dimes in there. But it's really incredible now when you start to look at these lists and start to see how few actual characters are in there. What is there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total characters in this deck, which is pretty crazy, and I think is a way that we're going to start seeing this sort of style more and more. So yeah, again, you Ruby Sapphire specialist, let me know what you think. This list, the list that got first place, what are you guys preferring? We are now going to shift into another Ruby Sapphire list. Was another top 4 deck, but again, look at the difference. Way more characters here with the actual 1/1 Sisu that has evasive and can actually banish a 1 strength or less character, as well as Skull there as well. So again, some different choices in there, but the theme is the same. Not auto lose to aggro decks whilst being able to overpower the late game. Are we going to see anything else here? Okay, well, we've got Emerald Steel once again with a couple of cool additions. Now, whether these additions are going to become staples or not is another question. We have 2 Fandom Platinums at the bottom there. We have some Tink, 3 large Tinks, which I do like. But the big one for me is the Aerial. Now, whether the steel aerial becomes a staple or not, I don't know. But it's one of my favorite cards that when we saw the cards announced initially. I really like this card. So a large part of me hopes that this becomes a regular card that sees play, whether in this list or maybe something else. Who knows at this point? So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing if this aerial sticks around. 'Cause it's definitely one that's fun to play. But yeah, let's move on. We're going to make this one a bit of a quicker video. As you can see, there's a theme kicking in. Another Ruby Sapphire list, again with a few differences. There is a small Sisu in there, but this one's a bit more of a spread. There's the main characters in there, but there is a Shield of Virtue and only one Be Prepared, which, if I'm honest, I don't know what I think about only one. I feel like 2 might be the sweet spot, at least mainly from playing against this deck. You don't want to overdo it, but I feel like 1 is a little bit spicy, maybe a bit too spicy for me. But let me know what you think. Moving on to another top 8 list. One a little bit different here. It is going to be, well, different. Another Emerald Steel list, but a few different choices here. And going a little bit heavy on the removal, only 1 of the large Flins and 4 of the locations as well. A bit of a different take here, but honestly, I like some of the additions in the other Emerald Steel lists rather than the location myself right now anyway, but it's definitely something I will test. And I think finally, it happened. Not one of the 2 archetypes we've covered so far. We did get Amber Steel Songs. And again, I do think there will be something to this archetype. I think it definitely has options versus some of the more aggressive lists. And then the problem, I guess, if you want to phrase it that way, is can you beat the Sapphire list? So here looking at it, there's the new Ursulas in there, of course, the 2 of the new Aerials as well, which is pretty nice. Fandom Platinum makes perfect sense. More songs, inkable, so it will give you like sort of fighting chances against these item decks, but also is just an inkable card as an absolute worst case scenario. So not going to be one of those songs that gets a little bit stuck. And then with 3 Cinderellas for some of that sort of beefy late game potential if required. So Cinderella definitely a card I do enjoy. Whether I've seen people include anything from 1 to 4, believe it or not, in lists like these. So I think 3 is it's an okay middle ground, depending on what you're planning on doing for the rest of the deck. So really cool to see at least something else slip in there in that top 8 cut. But yeah, guys, just wanted to give you heads up on these top 8 lists from a pretty competitive tournament from set 4. So let me know what you thought of the list. Let me know which list you preferred. Are there any sort of splits you guys have tested out that you think are better? Any cards that any of these players have been missing that you think are vital for these archetypes? Thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you next time.